going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an excellent day today. Obviously, first bit of news we have to get out of the way. Taproot activation was in fact a success. We had over 90% of the miners signaling, and you can see right here, this will be improving the scripting capabilities and privacy of the Bitcoin network. Now, I'm not going to go into too many details because you've probably heard enough about Taproot. I'm sure everyone's talking about it, but the one thing we were concerned about was the Van Eck ETF, which did in fact get rejected. However, if we have a look at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin remaining relatively stable. In fact, we're still sitting above my previous support level. So we need to talk about, is this actually different this time? Because Bitcoin is acting quite resilient. Now, we have guys like Raoul Pal coming out saying that the overall crypto market cap could 100x amid a massive mania craze that could be incoming. But is Bitcoin actually going to hit these levels that everyone's talking about? So in today's video, not only are we going to go over the short-term price action, but I want to talk about what could be possible for Bitcoin. We're going to look at all different types of charts and data, on-chain, off-chain. Today's going to actually be kind of a fun video, so stick around. We're going to look at all these different predictions, some of them saying that the end is near, the end is imminent, and others saying, no, we're not even close, and Bitcoin could even go up to as high as $500,000 this cycle alone. And if you did watch my previous video, this guy right here, Ken Griffin, he was on the cover, and, I wrote game over. Now, obviously, that's not my perspective, but Ken Griffin does believe, and he's a billionaire, he's been in the space for a while, not so much crypto, but he does see that maybe Bitcoin will have a demise, or at least will be overtaken by Ethereum or one of these other second, third generation cryptos. So we're going to talk about all that today. It's going to be a really fun video. Make sure you get subscribed if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's get into the short-term analysis, and then we're going to broaden our horizons a little bit on this channel. So you can see right here that we are still, in fact, consolidating. We are above the VPVR level. We're still holding above my support at around 6,300. It is actually pretty incredible, not to mention the fact that we are waiting with bated breath for the closing of this weekly candle for Bitcoin. In fact, having a look at Bitcoin, what it's doing right now, the biggest concern, not so much what happens, over the next few days for Bitcoin if we do pull back, but what we're really afraid of is having a similar situation that we did with the previous Wyckoff distribution, right? Where we had, this pump right here, we retraced, and then we had this massive surge. We did find support. We put in a couple higher highs before putting in the lower high and then rolling over, right? So that is sort of the concern, because you can see right here, we have this dip, we have the first peak and the second peak, and we have the exact same thing happening right here, where we have the first peak, the second peak. Now, are we gonna go up to a third? We do need to keep our eyes open for this. We don't wanna get tricked twice, right? So that was the big concern over whether or not we were putting in a giant double top for Bitcoin. Now, interestingly enough, the S&P, when it closed just as the weekend started, we actually did see a pump in price for the S&P. Not saying that Bitcoin has to follow it exactly, but it is interesting to see what may happen on Monday's open. Now, if you have a look at what Bitcoin is forming right now, it does appear as if we are in this rising wedge formation, right? Now, typically speaking, a rising wedge is actually a bearish pattern, right? So this should theoretically break to the downside eventually when it does break. But what is our rule? When we are in a bull market, which this is certainly a bull market, whenever we have a neutral sort of, whatever, that's bullish. If it's bullish, it's extremely bullish. And if it's bearish, it's actually more neutral than anything. I've actually seen multiple rising wedges actually have a fake out, right? Everybody thinks we're going down, and then we instantly go back up and everybody's caught off guard again. They're caught off sides, right? So really, until we break one of these major levels down here, if we just go back to this chart, this is the one where I have the majority of the drawing on, you can pretty much see that we're holding above the 21 exponential. We did have the breakout of the asymmetrical triangle. We are still holding above the VPVR. We are still holding above all major moving averages, and we're still holding above my short-term support. So there's really no reason to become bearish. Even if for some reason the market's open, tomorrow and Bitcoin has this, flash crash down to about the $57,000 level, we would still be putting in ultimately a higher low. And like I always say, the trend is your friend. I know you guys are sick of hearing that, but it is. The trend is your friend until the end. And until we break a massive support, there's no reason short term to become bearish unless you're trying to get some scalp trades in or something like that. But that's why I said I would be very, very careful. People trying to short this market right now. Yes, you might be able to make a little bit of gains here and there, but ultimately you're swimming against the tide, right? Everything is moving upwards. The market is entering euphoria phase. In fact, I'm going to show you why we're about to enter the main phase of the bull market. So definitely get ready for that. Get your moon boots on if you're interested. And overall right here, I mean, yes, we have had a little bit of sell pressure I'm going to talk about the sell pressure in a minute, because you guys are going to understand why actually seeing some of these whales taking profits on the way up is actually a good thing, and historically shows that we are about to enter the main phase of the bull run, right? So ultimately right here, yes, we do still want to have we would like to have a weekly close higher than this close that we had right here, which was actually at 63,312. So if we can just close above $63,312 on the Bitcoin index, then we're still putting in higher weekly candles. Now, I want to start with this, okay? Now, this may look scary to you at first, but let me explain. So Will Clemente, you're probably very familiar with him. He does a lot of on-chain analysis. He posted this chart of the long-term holder net position change. Now, he says long-term holders buy Bitcoin into weakness and sell into strength. We've just gotten our first red point on the long-term holder net position change in over 6 months. Now you can see right here where we had it back here in November of 2020. You can see all this red right here, and we literally just got right here our first dip into the red. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, that means it's over, right? They're selling. No, they may be starting to sell, but that's because, like he said, smart money sells into the euphoria. Now you can see right here, granted, even though they did start selling right back around here, we didn't have the Bitcoin top until April of the following year. So you could see, even though there was all this massive selling, this gray line in the back actually represented the price. So the price actually continued to go up significantly months, even after we started to just get this red sell. And you could see we had a massive increase right here, especially in the price for Bitcoin. So this is actually a good thing. Yes, some people are going to be taking profits, but it does show historically that there is still much more upside to come from that level. Now, having a look at Alan Awe over here, he actually looked at multiple different cycles. He posted this over on Twitter. So he talks about the Bitcoin on-chain peaking indicator. They use multiple different models. You have the BLX model, you have the 3.618 fib, the 5.618 fib, and the 8.618 fib. And all of these models, I mean, the lowest model being the 3.618, as you guys can see right here, shows that the top for Bitcoin would be somewhere around 160K. But the majority of these models are sitting actually between $200,000 and $350,000 for the top of Bitcoin. Now, of course, there is a bit of concern considering the lengthening cycle concept versus the fact that we do have the 4-year cycle. And if we base it on the 4-year cycle and we base it on the stock to flow model, watch my last video, I went over all of this in that video, then we are actually technically, historically, at the end of the bull run, right? But it doesn't seem like that's what's happening. Now, one of the indicators that we spoke about on this channel was the crypto Bitcoin bull run index, right? Now, you can see right here, there are multiple factors. You can actually take them off, and you can see that kind of changes the chart a little bit, right? But I have everything selected, right? So these are essentially all the different types of models. We have the pi cycle top, right? A lot of people thought it was the top. It wasn't the top. And you can see right here, that's only signaling for about a 53%. The scariest ones up here are the R-Hodl ratio and the halving to peak days up to 82%, right? Because like I said, the 4-year cycle suggests that Bitcoin should be coming to an end of this cycle. But if we actually take all of these models and combine them together, you'll notice that we're actually sitting relatively low. We're only sitting, I don't know if you guys can see this right here, we're only sitting at about a 61 right? A 61, 62 out of 100. So 100 is the ultimate top of the cycle. And this is factoring in all these different types of models, right? So having a look right here, you do have some models maybe that are saying we're close to the end, but the overall consensus is that yes, we're more than halfway there. We're generally more than halfway there, but we're not there just yet, right? In fact, if we actually have a look over here, this is just one of my favorite and simplest of all. You know, when you look at Bitcoin on the daily chart, this is what you're seeing up and down. You got the traders, they're trying to make their profits, you know, they're getting stomped out, maybe they're getting liquidated if they're not being careful. Then we look at Bitcoin over the course of years logarithmically, and what do we have? Up and to the right. And if we actually look at Bitcoin via decades, which granted we only have about 12 years of data, but ultimately, I mean, if you want to switch it to the to the yearly chart, I mean, this thing is essentially just going straight up in the air, right? So that is the situation. But getting back to the video that I spoke about yesterday, the whole Bitcoin game over thing. Now, this is coming from legendary market maker and hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin. He warns that Bitcoin will eventually be replaced by Ethereum, but then he says Ethereum is going to get replaced by something else. This is him right there. I love the face that I put in the thumbnail because he's just like, he definitely makes some crazy faces, this guy, in his interviews. But he says, I think we're going to see Bitcoin replaced conceptually by, and he says, the Ethereums. So this is referring to essentially any smart contract platform. He talks about BNB, Solana, Cardano, but he says the train is still in the station. In fact, if we actually have a look at Ethereum, it has overall been performing probably better, I would say, than Bitcoin, although we did finally break this trend right here. So I did warn about this. This is something to keep our eyes on. You can actually see, though, that we did technically kind of break it down here, and then we had a nice green candle. So it could be a good opportunity for a long, but I'm not going to say to do that officially until we see what happens on Monday when stocks open, and we have to see how the markets react with Bitcoin as well to all the news. On one hand, we had the ETF getting disapproved, but then we also had Taproot activation happening. So it was kind of a mixed weekend for Bitcoin, right? But he goes on to say that these newer cryptocurrencies will be replaced by the next generation that will have benefits of higher transaction speeds, lower cost per transaction. Perhaps people will start thinking about how to better deal with security and fraud prevention as well. However, do understand, though, that there is still that security aspect to it, right? So you do have that trifecta. And often when you increase scalability, sometimes you lose the security, or you lose, you know, in one of the other areas, right? Bitcoin is a very well-balanced organism, right? It has security. It is scarce. And at this point, you know, they say, well, it's not scalable. Well, it is scalable on these layer twos. And I mean, you know, you're having a look at Ethereum. Yes, the fees are lower, but at the same time, you've seen so much interest in these layer two solutions. So this is just how it goes, right? And it's not any different than the real world. People try to act like, oh, like Bitcoin takes 10 minutes to process, that's too slow and all this other stuff. But you have to understand, you do have things like Lightning. The same way that when you're talking about money, you know, if I have cash, how do I get cash from here to somebody across the world? Well, the easiest way is to send it, I don't know, via PayPal or Venmo, right? But how do I get the money over to them? Well, first I got to take that cash and then I have to put that in a bank. Well, once you do that, now you're using a second layer. The bank is the second layer. It's representing the dollars digitally. It's not really sending them. If I put a $20 bill in, it's not like my friend across the country is going to get that actual $20 bill. He gets a representation of that $20 bill, right? And then if we're doing something like Venmo or PayPal, well, that's a third layer on top of the bank. So we have the original cash that I put in, then we have the bank, and then we have the Venmo, PayPal on top of that, right? Same thing for Bitcoin. So comparing these two things is like, it's apples and oranges unless you're going to be absolutely fair about it. But here's the thing. I could actually send my friend an actual Bitcoin across the United States in 10 minutes or less, and he will get that actual physical Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin that I actually sold. Just sent to him. Try doing that with gold. Try sending gold across the country for the fees that people complain about Bitcoin, right? It's not going to happen. And this is exactly the revolution that we're talking about. This is why Real Vision CEO Raoul Pal, he talks about the crypto market being on the verge of exponential growth. Now, he says we're seeing lightning fast adoption, and it's not even a matter of just these speculators, these guys trying to get in on the meme coins. In an interview on RT Network's Going Underground, he says that the adoption for crypto is happening at a faster rate than any other previous technology. He actually mentions 100x for the overall crypto cap. He says that crypto currently has about 150 million users. The adoption rate is 113% a year. It's basically twice as fast as the fastest adoption of any technology in all recorded history. So it's happening at lightning pace. Everybody's coming into the space, the institutions, the sovereign wealth funds, retail investors, we got the ETFs, nation states, we got nations, we got cities, right? Mining Bitcoin, Miami, we have New York getting involved as well, essentially everybody. So you can check out the whole interview, but I just highlighted these few points. He says right now, it's a 2.5 trillion asset class for crypto as a whole. Most of the major asset classes around the world, equity, bonds, real estate, are about 150 trillion and 350 trillion. So I think, this is his opinion, that it goes to about a 200 trillion market cap in the next 10 years. So that's essentially saying not that Bitcoin is going to do 100x in the next 10 years, but that the overall crypto cap, crypto as a whole, is going to do 100x in the next 10 years. So when you consider not being at least a little bit exposed to this space, it would be absolutely mad. He says mankind has never seen that before, so it's an opportunity for everybody because everyone can own at least 10% of their assets in this class, the richest and the poorest, right? So I really believe this. I do believe it's irresponsible to not be exposed to crypto. Whether or not you believe in Bitcoin or you don't care about Bitcoin, me personally, I believe in Bitcoin. It is the store of value. It is the store of value that we have been searching for all these years. And if you disagree with me, fine, you're welcome to have your own opinion. But history states it is the best performing asset class, and Bitcoin as a store of value arguably is doing its job quite well. But of course, we do have things like Ethereum and Solana and Polkadot, which is why I said in a video from a few days ago that I would be definitely looking to allocate a percentage of my portfolio to especially these layer ones, these smart contract platforms, right? Cardano, Polkadot, Elrond, things like that, because you never know which one's going to take off. Right now, Ethereum does have the majority of the network effect, but who knows? That could change in the future, right? Interestingly enough, we actually had this poll that came out over here, and the results of a global poll carried out by the international financial consultancy firm De Beer Group revealed that 36% of millennials and 51% of Generation Z would be more than happy to get at least half their paycheck in digital assets rather than fiat. You had the CEO, Nigel Green, pictured right here. He actually explained that youngsters find the asset class attractive due to technological developments happening. And also, he added that millennials and Gen Z would rather support an autonomous, decentralized digital currency and payment network than a traditional system where monetary institutions and governments are in control. And we are seeing this. We are seeing the interest. For example, just on Tuesday, right, we had MasterCard announcing that it's going to be launching crypto-linked payment cards across the Asia-Pacific region that would enable users to instantly convert their digital assets into fiat currency. Rather than directly transferring cryptos to a merchant, cardholders will now be able to instantly convert their cryptos into traditional fiat, which can be spent everywhere MasterCard is accepted around the world, both online and offline. And honestly, some of the craziest news, probably not for you guys, maybe this isn't big for you, but for me, being a native to New York City Coin officially launched on Thursday, with Mayor-elect Eric Adams giving the coin's issuer, City Coins, a public endorsement ahead of the rollout. He stated that he wanted to have a City Coin for New York City that mirrors Miami's Miami Coin. But what's interesting is that this New York City Coin, which does sound kind of crazy on the surface, but the project is actually going to divert 30% of the mining rewards to a custodial reserve wallet that the local government can use to support whatever initiatives it chooses. So this is very interesting. Not only are we actually getting involved in digital assets, we have our own coin for New York City, but we also have the mining rewards being distributed back to the city as a whole, which can be used for lots of things, right? And think about it. What a better system, right, than having to just shell out some taxes every beginning of the year. Now you're talking about actually doing something productive. I don't know how they're going to factor in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It really hasn't been made clear. But what has been made clear is that they are making the shift to digital. They don't want to get left behind, right? Especially the U.S. The U.S. does not want to get left behind. They don't want to let these other countries, get ahead of them. They saw what happened with El Salvador, right? So these are just a lot of things that are going on right now that are really amazing. And, mean, really, that's it for this video. I just mainly wanted to look at some of these things. But yeah, I mean, having a look right here, you can clearly see that we're nowhere near the top over here on the CBBI. And although we do have a few red signals, red flags, as I've been saying, it is quite different this time. We have big players involved. We have high net worth individuals involved. And it's no longer a matter of people freaking out over Bitcoin like, oh, be careful, it's a scam, it's a Ponzi. No, now it's more of trying to figure out how do we actually integrate this Bitcoin into the traditional finance system. It's a completely different ballgame. It's a completely different market this time, right? Different in the sense that we have different market players. Now, fear and greed and emotions, that's never going to change. Those are human emotions. We're always going to have pumps. We're always going to have dumps. We're going to buy high. We're going to sell low. It's not what we want to do, but inevitably, people are going to do it, right? That's just human nature. But the overall market is maturing, and Bitcoin is truly, finally becoming the hedge against inflation, or at least the risk that you are willing to take at this point against inflation, right? So it's just a really amazing time to be around in crypto. So thanks again for everyone coming out to the channel. You guys rock. Thank you for supporting me. You know, I make all these videos every day. Pretty much all of them are absolutely free. I mean, I literally just make these videos because I just love sharing and talking about crypto with you guys. I hope you do find some value out of this. Of course, I'm always open for suggestions. If you guys have any altcoins you think we should be looking at, we've actually been able to find some pretty good ones, right? Unifty doing quite well, and a few others we've mentioned on the channel as well, but we'll talk about altcoins. I will definitely keep you guys in the loop as things develop, but that's really it. I wanted to talk about the Bitcoin cycle today, and I wanted to talk about these different charts, these different predictions, and let you know that we are probably getting into that mania phase, but I do not think we've hit the top just yet. So drop a comment below. Let me know where you guys think we are in the cycle. What are you doing? Are you buying Bitcoin? Are you ditching Bitcoin? Are you buying Ethereum? Are you buying only low cap, crazy, risky meme coins? Let me know. What is your strategy for profit this bull run? So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. And as usual, if you have not watched these videos popping up right here, right now, what are you waiting for? Check them out. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.